The Harrington estate was a world apart. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and the quiet efficiency of a staff trained to be invisible. Amara moved through the halls with practiced grace, her uniform crisp, her eyes lowered. She was the maid, the one who polished silver and swept away the dust of other people's lives. But beneath her calm exterior, Amara carried a world of knowledge and a mind sharpened by adversity. On a bright Monday morning, the estate buzzed with anticipation. Charles Harrington, the white millionaire tech investor, was hosting a breakfast for his executive team. The air was thick with the scent of coffee and the low hum of business talk. Amara moved from room to room, ensuring every detail was perfect. She had learned, over years of service, how to blend into the background, how to listen without being seen. But today, something was different. As she entered the dining room, she caught a glimpse of Charles at the head of the table, waving a thick document in the air. His laughter echoed off the high ceilings, drawing the attention of every executive in the room. "Anyone here read French?" Charles called out, grinning as he brandished the contract. "This is the acquisition proposal from our Paris partners. Whoever can translate, it gets my salary for the day. That's 50 grand, folks. Any takers?" The executives chuckled, shaking their heads. "I took French in high school," joked one, "but I can barely order a croissant." Charles's eyes sparkled with mischief. "Well, I guess we'll have to use Google Translate. Or maybe the cleaning staff can help us out." He glanced at Amara, who was quietly refilling the water glasses. The room erupted in laughter, the kind that stings more than it amuses. Amara kept her gaze down, her face unreadable. She had heard it all before. The jokes, the dismissals, the way people assumed her silence meant ignorance. But inside, her mind was already working, translating the first few lines she'd glimpsed on the document as she passed by. She had grown up in Senegal, where French was as natural as breathing, and English was the language of dreams. Her mother had been a teacher, her father a translator for the UN. But here, in this house, she was just a maid. Charles leaned back in his chair, still grinning. "Come on, Amara. Want to get a shot? Translate this, and my salary is yours." He said it like a joke, but his eyes dared her to respond. The room fell silent, all eyes on her. Amara paused, her hands steady on the pitcher. She looked up, meeting Charles's gaze for the first time. There was a flicker of something in her eyes, amusement, maybe, or challenge. "Would you like me to try, sir?" she asked, her voice calm and clear. Charles raised an eyebrow, surprised by her poise. "Why not? Let's see what you've got." He handed her the document, the paper heavy and official in her hands. The executives watched, some smirking, others curious. Amara scanned the first page, her eyes moving quickly over the dense legal French. She took a breath, then began to translate aloud, her accent soft but her words precise. "This agreement, dated the 14th of March, 2024, is entered into by and between Harrington Technologies and Devalier Innovations for the purpose of joint development and distribution of proprietary software in the European market." The room went quiet. Amara's voice was steady, her translation flawless. She moved through the paragraphs with ease, explaining technical terms, clarifying legal clauses, and even correcting a mistranslation in the company's own summary. By the time she finished the first page, the executives were staring at her in disbelief. Charles's jaw had dropped, his usual confidence replaced by something like awe. You speak French?" he stammered. Amara nodded, folding the document neatly. "Yes, sir. I also speak Wolof, Arabic, and some Spanish. My mother was a teacher. She believed language was the key to every locked door." For a moment, no one spoke. The silence was different now, charged electric, as if the room itself had shifted. Amara handed the document back to Charles, her eyes steady. "Would you like me to translate the rest?" she asked. Charles recovered quickly, his bravado returning. "Well, I'll be damned. Looks like I owe you a day's salary, Amara." He tried to laugh, but sounded forced. "Maybe you should be running this meeting." The executives chuckled nervously, unsure how to react. Some looked at Amara with new respect, others with discomfort. The power dynamic had shifted, and everyone felt it. Amara smiled politely, then turned to leave the room. But as she walked away, she heard Charles call after her. "Wait, how did you learn to do that? You never mentioned you spoke French." Amara paused in the doorway, her back straight. "No one ever asked, sir." The words hung in the air, a quiet rebuke that needed no explanation. She disappeared down the hall, her footsteps soft on the marble, but her presence suddenly impossible to ignore. Word of Amara's translation spread through the estate like wildfire. In the staff kitchen, Maria, the cook, beamed with pride. "You showed them, Amara. They'll never look at you the same way again." Even Mr. Jenkins, the butler, offered a rare smile. But not everyone was pleased. Lisa, the house manager, watched Amara with narrowed eyes, her sense of order threatened by this sudden shift in hierarchy. Upstairs, Charles Harrington was restless. He prided himself on reading people, on knowing who mattered and who didn't. But Amara had slipped past his radar, hiding brilliance behind humility. He called his assistant, Mark, into his office. "Find out everything you can about Amara," he ordered. "I want to know who she is, where she came from, what she's doing here." Mark returned an hour later, shaking his head. "She's clean. Immigrated from Senegal 6 years ago. No criminal record. References from 2 previous employers. No degrees listed, but that doesn't explain what we saw this morning." Charles stared out the window, unsettled. He replayed the moment in his mind. The way Amara had spoken with such authority, the way his team had looked at her, not as a maid, but as an equal. It challenged the order of things, and he wasn't sure how to feel about it. That evening, Amara finished her shift and walked home through the city's quieter streets. Her mother, still recovering from illness, waited for her in their small apartment. Amara recounted the day's events, her mother's eyes shining with pride. "You have a gift, Amara," her mother said, squeezing her hand. "Don't let anyone make you hide it." Amara smiled, but her mind was troubled. Visibility brought scrutiny, and she knew from experience that moments of recognition could be followed by backlash. Still, she felt a new sense of possibility stirring inside her. The next morning, Charles called Amara into his office. He was less formal than usual, his tone almost apologetic. "I owe you an apology for yesterday. I shouldn't have made that joke. It was thoughtless." Amara nodded, accepting the apology. "Thank you, sir, but I'm used to it." He hesitated, then slid a folder across the desk. "I want you to look at something." Inside was a proposal for a new community outreach program, scholarships for staff and their families, language classes, mentorship opportunities. At the bottom, her name was listed as a potential advisor. "I want you to help me build this," Charles said. "Not as a maid, but as a partner. You have insight I don't. You see things I miss." Amara's heart pounded. The offer was tempting, but she knew the risks. "Thank you, sir, but I need time to consider." Charles nodded. "Take all the time you need. The offer stands." As Amara left the office, Lisa intercepted her in the hallway. "You've caused quite a stir," Lisa said, her voice low. "Some people think you're getting above your station." Amara met her gaze, unflinching. "I did what was asked of me. Nothing more." Lisa's lips thinned. "Just remember, this house runs on order. When people forget their place, things fall apart." Amara refused to shrink. "Respect goes both ways, Lisa. I know who I am." That evening, Amara visited her mother again, bringing groceries and sharing the news of Charles's offer. Her mother listened quietly, then said, "You have a chance to open doors for others. Don't be afraid." The next day, Amara returned to the estate with new resolve. She met with Charles and agreed to help launch the program, but only if it was real, if it was more than just a gesture. Charles agreed, and together they began to work. The changes came quickly. The scholarship fund launched, and applications poured in from staff and their families. Language classes filled up, with Amara teaching French and English side by side. The mentorship program paired young workers with seasoned staff, building bridges across generations and backgrounds. But with progress came resistance. Some executives grumbled about the changes, questioning Amara's qualifications and Charles's judgment. Rumors circulated, whispers of favoritism, of a maid overstepping her bounds. One afternoon, As Amara prepared materials for a staff meeting, she overheard two executives in the hallway. "She's just a maid," one scoffed. "What does she know about running a program?" The other shrugged. "Apparently more than we do. Harrington trusts her." Amara felt the sting of their words, but she refused to let them define her. She focused on the work, on the people who believed in her, on the difference she could make. The first staff meeting was tense. Some employees sat with arms crossed, skeptical. Others leaned forward, eager to participate. Amara stood at the front of the room, her voice steady as she outlined the program's goals. "This is about opportunity," she said, "about recognizing the talents and dreams that too often go unnoticed. We all have something to offer, no matter where we start." As she spoke, she saw heads nodding, eyes brightening. The room began to shift, the old barriers softening. After the meeting, Maria hugged her, tears in her eyes. "You're changing things, Amara. For all of us." Amara smiled, hope blooming in her chest. For the first time, she felt the power of her own voice, the strength of her own story. But she knew the real test was yet to come. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of change. The Harrington estate, once a place of rigid routines and silent hierarchies, began to hum with new energy. Staff who had once kept their heads down now spoke up in meetings, sharing ideas and concerns. The mentorship program grew, pairing executives with staff for cross-training and career development. Amara's days were long, but she thrived on the energy of transformation. But with progress came new challenges. Some in the city's elite circles whispered about Charles's experiment, questioning his judgment and warning that he was risking his reputation. A few executives quietly resigned, unwilling to adapt to the new culture. Lisa, the house manager, struggled to adjust, her authority challenged by the new openness. One afternoon, Amara found Lisa in the garden, her face drawn. "Are you all right?" Amara asked gently. Lisa sighed, her shoulders slumping. "I've spent my whole career keeping things in order. Now everything's changing, and I'm not sure where I fit." Amara sat beside her, the roses blooming around them. "Change is hard, but you have so much to offer, Lisa. You know this house better than anyone. Help us build the future." Lisa looked at her, uncertainty warring with hope. "Do you really think I can?" Amara smiled. "I know you can. We need you." Lisa nodded slowly, a small smile breaking through. "Thank you, Amara. I'll try." As the weeks passed, Lisa found her footing, embracing her new role as a mentor and leader. She helped design training programs, drawing on her years of experience. The staff flourished under her guidance, and the estate ran more smoothly than ever. Meanwhile, Amara's own life transformed. She enrolled in night classes, using the money from Charles's check to pursue a degree in international relations. Her mother's health improved, buoyed by the knowledge that her daughter was finally chasing her dreams. One evening, as Amara prepared for her class, Charles stopped by her office. "I wanted to show you something," he said, handing her a letter. It was from a young staff member, thanking Amara for helping her apply to college. "You changed her life," Charles said quietly. Amara read the letter, tears welling in her eyes. "We changed it. Together." Charles smiled, pride and gratitude in his gaze. "You've changed me, too. I used to think leadership was about control. Now I know it's about trust." The estate became a model for others, drawing attention from media and business leaders. Articles praised the Harrington transformation, highlighting the power of inclusion and the value of hidden talent. Other companies reached out, seeking advice on how to replicate the success. Amara was invited to speak at conferences, sharing her story and the lessons she had learned. She spoke of courage, of the importance of giving people a chance, of the power that comes from being seen. But she never forgot where she started. She continued to mentor new staff, to listen to their stories, to remind them that greatness could come from anywhere. 6 months later, the Harrington estate was unrecognizable from the house it had once been. The walls echoed with laughter and conversation in a dozen languages. The staff lounge, once a place of silence and hurried meals, now buzzed with debate and learning. The scholarship fund had sent 3 staff members' children to university. The mentorship program had helped 2 former maids become assistant managers. Even the city's business leaders, once skeptical, now visited to see the transformation for themselves. Amara's own life had blossomed. She balanced her studies with her work as program director, her days filled with meetings, classes, and moments of quiet reflection. Her mother's health continued to improve, and their apartment was filled with books, laughter, and hope. Amara's story had become a beacon for others, proof that dignity, intelligence, and courage could change not just a life, but a community. One crisp autumn morning, Charles called a special meeting in the Great Hall. Staff, executives, and even a few board members gathered, curious about the announcement. Charles stood at the front, his posture relaxed, his eyes bright with pride. "I want to thank each of you," he began, his voice carrying through the room. "This house is not just my home, it's our home. Together, we've built something extraordinary, and none of it would have happened without Amara." He turned to her, inviting her to speak. Amara stepped forward, her heart pounding, but her voice steady. "I came here as a stranger," she said, her gaze sweeping the room. "I was quiet, I was careful, and I was often overlooked. But I always believed that every person has value, that every story matters. Today, I see a house where everyone is seen, where every voice is heard. That is our greatest achievement." The applause was long and heartfelt. Maria, the cook, wiped away tears. Mr. Jenkins, the butler, nodded with pride. Even Lisa, once wary, smiled warmly. After the meeting, a young staff member approached Amara, her eyes shining. "You made me believe I could be more," she whispered. "Thank you." Amara hugged her, remembering her own journey, the fear, the doubt, the moment she chose to step forward. She realized that her greatest gift was not just her knowledge, but her willingness to use it for others. That evening, as she sat with her mother, Amara reflected on her journey. "You were right, Mama," she said softly. "My mind is my passport. My words are my power." Her mother smiled, pride shining in her eyes. "And your heart is your compass. Never forget that." The story of Amara and the Harrington estate became a legend in the city, a tale of courage, transformation, and the quiet power of being seen. It was told in boardrooms and classrooms, in kitchens and gardens, inspiring others to look for greatness in unexpected places. If you've ever felt invisible, if you've ever doubted your worth, remember Amara's story. Speak your truth, claim your place, and know that you too can change the world, one word, one act, one day at a time.